my colleagues from SASRA. Now, I want to say that this is another milestone step that we have to go through as a Saccos sector. I have a number of times said that the Saccos sector in Kenya has fully matured. And that's why we are being categorized, particularly those who have been licensed by SASRA, as financial institutions. You see the overstressing of the government and the Minister for Finance over the Saccos that have been licensed. Now, the fact that there are a lot of reforms taking place within the finance sector therefore means that Saccos cannot be excluded from any positive reform within the sector. So this is another milestone, another stage we have to jump over. And I know the other stage which will be coming soon is the money laundering, which is a real issue at the international cycles. I think Jared is well aware, Kenya was roped in fully. Without complying to this, even the country's relationship with the IMF, World Bank, will never be accepted. And therefore, the last sector that was left was the Saccos sector, and they are already zeroing in on us. Those who are in the money laundering sector, they have already run away from the bank because there is already regulation there, and they are moving to the Saccos sector. And you know why they are doing that. Because of the security issues, the anti-terrorism issues, so they want the whole finance sector to be mapped out. And therefore, credit information sharing is one step that we do not want to leave us behind as a full-fledged financial institution. I want to say that we have come a long way as a Saccos sector, and at no point would anybody ever imagine that we shall be requested to be part and parcel of the credit information sharing in this country. Somebody thought Saccos are some small-time backdoor financial service provider somewhere. But you can see we have been mainstreamed, and this was our prayer all along. Once we join some of these platforms, we are sure we can now do business and compete with any other financial provider. When I look around, when I reflect back where we were 4 years ago, it was a difficult journey we were starting with the regulation. It was a difficult journey. It was even more difficult for me because I was on the side of the association that was fighting for the Saccos sector. So when I was pushed to be the regulator, it became more difficult because these were all my colleagues, Jared, we were working with. But we had to apply the law and the regulation, and it worked very well. The sector is now calm, it is peaceful, we have no overplayed politics in the sector. And I think that's one success. I would say that even if I leave SASRA and the Saccos sector, I think that's something that we have achieved. We had a lot of fears here and there, but I think we navigated through them. And the fears were so much, and particularly at boards and the top management level. But these people put their feet down. They had to reform the governance structures. They had to reform their financial systems. They had to start complying with the financial reporting, with the regulatory authority. They had to change or improve the technology. And therefore, I would all acknowledge that the CEOs who are seated here have been very instrumental towards the change. And I think the success of this sector would not have been realized without your input. It is never easy to change, but you put your feet down, and it has made us to reach this far. Now, when it comes to credit information sharing, this is not something to fear at all, because I think it's for our good. This is something we are the ones who needed to push. Because when we share information between ourselves and between the banks, microfinance, and even other credit providers, utility companies, this is not just going to be SASRA banking, microfinance. It is going to include utility companies also. That's how the law is being crafted, I think, at Treasury. Jared will try to say a little more on that. So that if you default your university loan, if you default your microfinance loan, the Sacco loan, the bank loan, the Kenya Power bills, it's all going to be mapped together. You are all aware, most of you have traveled out of the country. What triggers consumption and the cost of credit is the creditworthiness of the people. The developed world's economies are driven by credit. And that can only be if we all map the whole country as Kenya, such that I know what Francis Ng'ang'a's creditworthy is, I know what Waroe's creditworthy is, and you don't have to know him in person. You just get the information and you know about whether Demba is creditworthy or not creditworthy. The cost of credit will come down. The cost of credit in the bank is high because of the possibility of default, because they're dealing with people they do not know. So when it comes to delinquency, our loan delinquencies, you can see the provision for delinquencies we have is very high.